Welcome to another video on the Honda E. This video, as you may have guessed by the title, is 1,000 miles in a Honda E update video. Now, I've actually done not a lot more, but more than that. The odometer is reading 3,953 miles, and I got it on 2,680. So, 1,300 miles travelled in the Honda E so far. This is going to be just a quick update video, really, to let you know how I've been getting on over that 1,000-ish miles. I've covered a lot of this already in previous videos. I'm not going to run through every single feature. I'm going to break those down individually into individual videos based on whatever feature it may be. Best place to probably start with the review is the visibility. So where you're sat within your driving position, what's the visibility like all around the Honda? And it's really, really good. So the pillar size is only very, very slight. On all corners, the very rear corner is quite a wide pillar, but the visibility is still good. So from that point of view, it's easy to look round. Not only that, of course, it's got the camera system, 360 camera system in the Honda E Advance, which allows you to see all around the car. Not only when you put it into reverse, but also it automatically comes on at very low speed if you've got obstacles near you whilst driving forward, which is pretty neat. So if you're going along, and I've had it several times out here in a rural environment, narrow lanes, when you slow right down, you're squeezing alongside of a hedge, it pops up and gives you all the view around the entire car with your sensors and everything. Pretty neat. Found that to be very, very useful. Moving on from the visibility is the handling. How does this thing drive? And it drives really, really well. It's a pleasure to drive. It's actually fun. It's a, as you can see from the images, it's a small car. It's a little car. It's rear-wheel drive. It's nicely laid out in terms of its stance. It's really nice. It hasn't got thin little tyres on the front. It's got nice big tyres on the front and back for its size. And it grips to the road exceptionally well. Now I'm told it's got 50-50 weight distribution. I think that's probably got a lot to do with it. The suspension and the feel of the ride is really good. And of late we've been going through floody weather. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen the picture of the Honda Arc, as I named it, going through a flood. Not only that, we've had snow and ice. Now, being rear-wheel drive, of course, it's a bit tail happy. That is covered off in part by the traction control. So as long as you've got that switched on, it does grab it and stops you getting out of shape. But of course, in those sorts of environments, unless you're going out to have fun, you just drive normally and to the conditions. So you try everything you can not to get it to step out of line. But I've had no issues at all. I mean, I'm driving now, it's 1 degree C now, so it's just gone up from freezing. It was freezing earlier today. I've got ice all down the side of the road here from the flood still. The rain's still running off the land. And it's been really good. And the power delivery is, because it's 152 brake horsepower in a car of this size, it's quite sharp. As in it's not as docile as the Zoe, or I mean the EMV 200 actually is quite pokey, but it's sharper than all those. So you've got to be careful with your throttle, essentially. But there are two modes. So there's the normal mode, which it always boots up in, and down here you've got another one called drive mode, and so you can just push that up, and it goes into sport. And what that does is make a nice little logo on the screen, and around the sport word is nice glowing red. But all that really seems to do is make the throttle really responsive, like incredibly. You only have to move it a tiny little bit and it's jumping out. I don't think that increases like the 0-60 time or anything like that, aside from the fact that it's more responsive. So there's less pedal travel for the acceleration that you get, essentially. And so we've got the visibility, we've got out handles on the road, we've got the fact that you can change the drive mode, which also, coupled with that, is the regeneration. There's many different ways of doing regeneration. on this car, which is good to see, because a lot of times you're stuck with what they give you with no customization at all. Well, the Honda E has actually got one pedal driving for a start. There's a lorry bridging the road. Got ice flying off the front of my car as well at the same time. One pedal driving will allow you pretty much to, as it says, drive with one pedal. Now within that, you can adjust the rate of regen with the pedals at the back. So now it's quite harsh. It's a lot of engine, it's more than engine brake right now, and then in comparison to an ICE car. So it's quite harsh, which is good. So I leave it in this mode. I leave it in its strongest setting. So you've got 3 options. It comes on its strongest when you boot the car up. It doesn't remember your previous setting. It puts it back to standard. For me, not an issue, because I always leave it in the harshest setting. And I'm almost always driving it with one pedal driving. I've spoken to some Nissan Leaf owners. Some like it, some don't. So they've got the one pedal driving in the latest Leaf. And I happen to really like it. I come up to a junction, it's doing most of the braking for me, and I know it's using the regen rather than just the brakes. But if I want to drive and I want to just lengthen out that regen but still be in one pedal driving, that's fine, because I can just use the paddle at the back. Weirdly, plus takes away the regen and minus adds it. So I can tap it now and I let go, I'm rolling more like a traditional ICE car on the lowest setting with one pedal driving. And I press the minus and it puts it back on again. I can only think that when it says plus, it means you're going to roll further. Couldn't quite work that one out. Seems like a stretch. You'd think plus would be more regen, not less. But there we go. If you don't drive with one pedal driving, you can switch it off. It's off as standard, by the way. Now it's completely off and it will just roll. Roll and roll and roll and roll. But if you press the pedal at the back, up comes the traditional arrows, but this time there is in fact 4 of them. I think I'm right in saying 4. And so it's adjustable by 4 times. But it doesn't go as, even on its highest setting, it's not as strong as one pedal driving. So that's now full. So it's about 70%, I would guess, of the one pedal driving harshness on its highest setting. There is a weird thing though with that, and I can't understand why I designed it like this. You can set it on the fly like I'm doing now. Now it's in harshest setting. It's displaying, it's still harsh, it's regenning. If I press the throttle, continue driving for a little while, the down arrows, they disappear. And now it's back again to what it was before. So it's back to 1 arrow. So it only seems to do it when you're under the regenerative braking and for 5 seconds afterwards, once you start accelerating again. So it only seems to remember it there on that specific set of braking, which is a strange, annoying thing with it, because I would like it to remain. So if I keep stopping, starting, pressing the accelerator, let go, it still remains. But if I start driving for any length of time, that now's gone. And now it's back to its easiest setting, so it's hardly regenerating at all. It's just floating along, doing a tiny little bit of regeneration. So there's that. I would say it's a bit strange. There's someone doing a WANKER sign to someone. I don't know why people do that. If you weren't in your car, you wouldn't do that in real life, would you? On the street to someone. It's a shame, real shame. Ruins people's day. I'll now move on to driver aids, but only briefly. I just want to mention that you've got a feature which is really, really good on the motorway, which is it's basically a lane departure warning, which you get on many cars. I've found this though to also activate on single lanes. So not like I'm on now where I've got a lane going this way and a lane this way, literally a single lane, a back road. I can be bombing it along a back road and it'll warn me, and it'll tug the steering wheel slightly, but I'm on a single lane. So from that point of view, don't understand that, don't understand why it does it, and it can at times be a bit annoying. Now I've had it on the motorway, and it's fine, absolutely fine. If you're in pitch black and the foggy weather that I was when I was coming back from Oxford, I think it was that time, not being able to see very well, but it seeing for you, that's beneficial. But on back lanes, it seems to be where the ground is undulating. It's a big word, isn't it? So when it was doing that, and it sort of thinks you're going off, and so it goes and just does a little light tug on the wheel, but it's just a bit annoying. What you can do is you can go to safety features of the car, and road departure mitigation, it calls it. You can click that. I think therein lies part of the problem, actually, with the name of it, road departure rather than lane departure. I think it thinks you're coming off the road, which, I mean, who doesn't want to be warned that you're coming off the road? But at the same time, when you're not coming off the road and it's warning you might be coming off the road, it's a little bit annoying. But you can switch it off. And I've noticed it does seem to have a feature on it, which is, if it keeps happening, so it seems to have, I don't know how many times it is, I'm guessing 3 times, it then switches off for a short period of time, which is handy. Unless you keep drifting on a motorway, which I suppose you shouldn't be driving if you're doing that. But so it does recognise that there must be environments where this will happen, and it does switch off. But nonetheless, I thought I'd mention it, so it can be quite annoying. The air conditioning system, so the climate control is spot on. Coupled with that, the preheat on the car, when you're not in it, you can use the app or you can use the key fob, or you can set it with a schedule, which I don't do because I don't leave at a set time each day. Using the app, using the remote, work flawlessly. I'm in an area where there's no data signal, but there's minimal data signal for a mobile phone. So it contacting this car, it works surprisingly well, considering the signal is it's literally on it's basically not really got a signal, but it seems to work remarkably well. And if it doesn't, I use the key fob. Now that's not the car's fault, I know that, because it's the same with all the other cars I've had, plus the fact you can't get a mobile phone signal, especially data, very difficult. We've just got a 4x4 here. We're going 53 miles an hour into a dual carriageway. I'm now at 60, 70. Incredibly sprightly, this car. So the de-icing has worked really well. And one thing to note, especially with that, in reference to the Leaf, the ENV200 and the Zoe, it is incredibly quiet. So unless you stand right next to it, you don't really know it's on. It's incredible. And it heats the cabin up, so it heats the seats. I think it heats the steering wheel. I think I'm right in saying that. It defrosts everything. Works really, really well, and quietly. So from that point of view, the experience there, the ownership experience, especially in these really cold weathers we've been having, has been spot on. I've had no issue at all. Talking about scheduling the climate, you can also schedule your charging. So I'm on economy 7, and so I get really cheap electric after midnight. It might be 11:30, but after midnight till about 7 a.m. And I set the car up to charge like that. Now, interestingly, I set it on the car. So I went through the EV menu, and from the EV menu, you got charging wait time schedule. I have set that up. You've got 2 options. Now this is quite clever and worth mentioning. You've got 2 schedules you can set up. If you go into the schedule, you've actually got location-based slow charging. So if you're charging on a 7 kilowatt, whatever, it's actually possible, because you can geolocate this car on the app. So there's a setting within the app, Tesla Model 3, there's a setting within the app that allows you to geofence the car. So you say, once it goes out of a mile perimeter, tell me, and it sends you a push notification on your phone. Pretty neat. If your car's being stolen, you can watch them drive it away. But also coupled with that is this charging location. So if you can set it up to on or off depending on location, and then your location can be set to home or away. So you can say this schedule applies 100% of the time when I'm at home, or 100% of the time when I'm away. So it could be, for instance, when this charging is set up, if you were charging at work as well, that was out of the home area, it would work for both. So it would either charge only at work, or it would charge only at home, or you can just have it off, so just whenever you plug it in or wherever you are, it adheres to the schedule. Or you can have no schedule, so just when you plug it in, it charges. So I've got it set up to charge between midnight and 7 a.m, so when economy 7 comes on, so I get the cheapest possible charge. There was some confusion though. Unlike all the other cars I've owned, this car, and the subtlety is in the name, this car calls it charging wait time schedule. What you have to do is enter the times you don't want it to charge, and it will charge on the other times. Now, I didn't know this. I set it in the car, I thought, oh, here we go, we've got the same problems I have in my Zoe. The charge schedule doesn't work. Thinking, it must definitely be to do with my wall charger that I have, it's causing this issue. It was only a week or so later when I was in the app, lo and behold, it puts a nice description in the app telling you what you should be doing. And I was like, oh, it's that way round. And as soon as I set it, it works lovely. Now, I only went to go and check the app because my car was charging. I happened to be up at midnight, and the app pushed me a message to say, your vehicle is no longer charging. And it happened to be 0000. And I was thinking, okay. My charger's set up back to front. Wonder why that is. So I went and checked, and that was why it was. So it's just an oddity, but the actual thought of the whole system works really well. Having 2 possible schedule types, having a charge time for a geolocation is brilliant. Now that doesn't affect your rapid charging, it only affects the slower charging. It's got road sign recognition in terms of speed limits, not only speed limits, but also no overtaking signs as well. And it will warn you when you try and overtake in a no overtaking area. Now this is really handy if you don't want to get tickets. So if you were caught overtaking an area you hadn't spotted the sign, it would warn you. You can also set up the speed limiter on the car to adhere to the speed limits it sees, if that makes sense. So basically what you're looking at is driving along, setting a limiter based on the actual live speed limit of the road. And this could be useful for some people. I don't switch it on, but if you're on a motorway with ever-changing temporary speed limits, it will see those and it will do its utmost to not allow you to go over that speed limit. Now you can set a buffer up and down, I think, either side of that, so a plus and minus, to say we'll add 2 miles an hour onto it, or whatever your rules in your country are. When we're allowed a 10% above, just for mistaken readings, etc. So it's a bit of a buffer. So that's really neat. The other thing I want to mention is the lighting on this car is exceptional. It's really, really bright. So the headlights have just been spot on. And I only noticed that when I went back into my Zoe. I was like, oh wow, okay. And it just elevated how good these lights were. So incredibly bright. The auto dip beam function works 80-90% of the time. There's been times where you're following someone, they're off in a distance just a little too much, and it puts a high beam on, and then it kind of looks like you're flashing at them. So I'm not that keen on it. It's a bit cumbersome to turn it on and off. It always wants to seem to be on, and to get it back on again is difficult as well. So to get it off, you have to you can flash your high beam to turn it off, and then auto lights are off then, which leaves you thinking, well, actually I want them back on again, especially if you head onto a motorway, because it's been spot on the motorway. It's more complex roads, it doesn't work quite as well. And I've spoken to other users of different cars, and they said they report the same thing. I mean, a human at the wheel is far superior, especially at this current time. Don't know how many years it will be. I mean, just with your high beam functionality, auto high beam, you can see how AI is just not there yet reliably enough to, just 100% rely on it. You need to be really alert. Same with all these other features built into the car. You just need to be really alert. So if I look at the safety features now, we got collision mitigation brake system, which I have used before accidentally when coming into a parking spot too fast. It thought I was going to hit something and slam the brakes on. That works. Jars your neck. Road departure mitigation, blind spot information, so blind spot showing up now because there's a car right there, and low speed braking control. And then you've got traction control, and you've got the auto park function, which nicely brings me on to the auto park function, which is like any other car I've had with it in, which is the Touran, the VW Touran. It's not great. It's really quite slow and not human-like at all. So for people that are used to driving around with humans driving the car, which is everyone, they don't really know what you're doing because it takes so long, and you do weird things that you wouldn't do if you were driving the car yourself. So people are sort of staring at you like, he can't drive. And when they say he can't drive, they mean Honda can't drive. Honda can't drive. So, yeah, I mean, if I bust my neck or something and, you know, couldn't turn, it's going to be useful. So for those with disabilities, or you put your back out or something like that, then yeah, this could be a useful feature, but be known that it does not act normally at all, and it's slow. So from that point of Model 3, loads of Model 3s, considering they're manufactured in California, they come over in shipping containers. It's amazing to see so many on the road. So from that point of view, brilliant. Everything else, brilliant. As in all these features, brilliant. Parking could be a lot better. Too slow. It's for safety, obviously. They don't want you to be whipping there and get parked up at 30 miles an hour, do they? But it's just a little bit on the slow side. So really, it leaves me just to say range. How's that affecting me so far? Not really. I've done, say, almost 1,300 miles on it. Range hasn't been an issue. I haven't run out. It's a bit better than driving the 24 kilowatt hour Leaf in winter. I'm kind of hoping I'll see a 30 mile increase, was I going to say? Not sure. Not really. 100 mile range in summer. That will be, you know, it'll be above and beyond than the 24 kilowatt hour Leaf. At the moment, it's like the Leaf it was in summer for me. So it's marginally better. It could be, as we know, spoke about in previous videos, could be a lot better, because actually in this car is a 35.5 kilowatt hour battery. Give me a button on this system that allows me to press it, say, yeah, I understand that I'm going to reduce my warranty from an 8-year warranty to a 3-year, but I'd like to press this button so I can go 140 miles instead of 80, you know, that sort of thing. So yeah, from that point of view, the range has been fine for my usage pattern and what I use it for. It's been fine. But for a lot of people, of course, they see the 80 mile range and they think that's not enough. It may or may not be. A lot of people are critical of range, always have been of electric cars, but in reality, most people, I think the average is 30 miles a day or something travel, isn't it? But for me, it's been working fine. Obviously, I'm pushing it as and when I can, depending on tier lockdowns, which never used to be a thing, to where I can go to these Honda dealers. We've got it all spread out on a map. It is happening when I don't know. So 157, I'm going to be pushing this thing to the absolute max. I'm going all over the United Kingdom in it, so it's going to be a bit different, isn't it? Going to try it then. But the comfort, everything about this car is wrapped up incredibly nicely. It is an absolute, and I genuinely mean this, a pleasure to drive. It's me, it's spent my own money on this car to do these reviews. That's the only reason I've got this car, is to try another electric car out. And the only real way is just to buy one and really trial it. So I'm driving it to 50,000 miles. Is to give everyone an insight into what this little Honda E is like, but what this type of electric car is like. And this is exceptional fun at this point in time.
Hi there, can I take your order?
Talk about 50,000 miles just for getting the videos done. I've also come out here just to get the video done. So it can be quite time consuming doing these, but you need to find space and time to do it. And also doing it rather than just sat at a desk, but actually driving it sort of highlights things as you're driving. One other thing it does do quite well is send your route to the map. So with a native navigation on here, which is the Honda navigation, you can use your app sat in your living room and just send it to car, and next time you turn it on and open up navigation, it will plot the route in. You can say yes or no, and you say go and job done. And so that works pretty well. So I've used that several times already. There you go, look, see, the system's coming on. So it lets me know exactly what's where. I think it's done. Thank you. Cheers. So just before I go, I want to demonstrate this parking for you. Okay. No one's behind me, so I'm going to now do it. So, except for there's a van now coming, so. There's someone behind me. So this is what it's doing, and it's not bad, but it's not perfect either. So you've actually got, so then it stops there, so it does a first one up there, then it pulls back, and then it goes off this way. You can see how painfully slow it is, and by this time usually there'll be a car coming, and then it reverses back into here. And so you can see the time taken. I could have driven into this space, parked up, and done it all myself. And not only that, the front part of the car tends to overhang. So it says it's finished, but it's actually overhanging the parking spot, so the front. So I have to go back, and then I'm now in the right spot. So it doesn't really work very well for that. And it takes a long, long time. And everyone wonders what on earth you're doing. There was 2 cars there that sort of went, right, I'm going to go a different direction. So that's demonstrated for you. I'll do more on that. I will cover that a lot more in like a separate video on about how it parks. It can bring you out the parking space as well. Does both those things, but neither with any real authority. Just kind of ruins the whole thing, really. Oh, one more thing before I go. The turning circle, epic. So when you come into parking spaces like this, or you're turning around in a road, spot on. Being rear wheel drive, allowing for that extra room. Amazing. Really, really good. So I hope this video has given you some insight. We're at about 1,300 miles now into it. The car itself has almost hit 4,000 miles. We've got no issues so far. So obviously we have to get up to 50,000 miles and then it's done, essentially. Part of that's going to be trying to visit every single Honda dealer in the UK. And yeah, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Comment below. That would be brilliant. That'd be really, really good. And after this, if this whole project sort of takes off a little bit, once this is sold, I would definitely think about getting another vehicle and then running that as well. Probably won't visit 157 locations across the United Kingdom in it, but I would definitely consider getting another one, spending a thorough review time with it, rather than just having it for a couple of days or a week, actually living with it for a good period of time, doing a good amount of mileage. Yeah. Okay, I will see you on the next one. Oh, fries.